How's it, Colin? Right, sorry for the delay regarding the recording. Yeah, ndakakwara neflu saka voice rangu harisunyatsoda rinetsinganyatsoiti mushi, especially pane ndichirecorda. Right now ndatongoti ndirecorde so that you get an explanation of your questions, and also I get to illustrate the supply and the demand zones that I expected you to highlight on USD CAD and USD CHF. So yeah, it's not gonna be a long video. It's just me explaining what you asked and the supply and demand zones. So we're gonna start with the USD CAD, right? So now remember, when you are looking at a chart, right, in most cases you start with the MWD, which is monthly, weekly, and daily. Those are the time frames that you use to identify my zones, whether it's supply or demand. Now, on your assignments, I was just giving you practice assignments so that you get to be in a position to identify, oh, I've got a supply here, I've got a demand zone here. You can see that's a demand, right? If you look further down, that is also a demand, right? If you look further ahead, this is a demand zone, right? So now when it comes to support and resistance, once you have identified a demand zone, right, you expect price to find support. Now, what do I mean by price finding support? What I mean is you don't expect price to keep going lower from a demand zone. You expect price to bounce, to go to the upside. Like for instance, we had this supply zone, this demand zone right here, and then price impulsively moved away to the upside. Now, you as an informed trader, you'd have been waiting for price to come back here in the gray shaded area, which is now your what? Your demand zone. Once it reaches your demand zone, you expect price to find support inside a demand zone, and then it pushes to the upside. This now is your trade. You see, that is the trade. So you're looking at a total of almost like 80 pips from a what? A demand zone. Same applies with this demand zone right here, the lower one. You'd have anticipated price to move away from that zone, creates a new high, and then once it comes back, see, price came back to that zone right here. Okay. So I'm just gonna extend this here. Right there. You see, once price comes back to that area, you're expecting it to find support, and that's what happened. You see, price came back to this demand zone right here, this bullish engulfing, and then it pushed to the upside for a total of almost 130 pips. Now, price finds support in a demand zone, and then the opposite applies. Price finds resistance at a supply zone. Now, let me go to USD CHF, right? On USD CHF, we had this supply zone right here. See? That's a supply zone, which is where price is currently trading at. That's where the market closed on Friday. So you'd have anticipated a move away from the zone, and then eventually it comes back. So from this level now, you are expecting price to find resistance for it to push to the downside. You see, so we've got a supply zone right there, and we also have a demand zone. Now pay attention to this explanation here, right? We've got a demand zone right here. See, that's a demand zone, right? So the middle dot represents the equilibrium point, the 50% mean threshold of the demand zone. The rectangle, the middle dot, represents the middle point. Right. Now, once you have a demand zone formed, 1 and 2, so that's a bullish engulfing pattern, those two candles. Right. That's a demand zone. Look at the following candle, this one here. Where did price trade to? Price came back into the demand right here. Price came back into the demand zone before it moved to the upside. You see, before it pushed to the upside. Total of what? 40 pips. Right. Now I'm gonna go to the next lower time frame, which is H1. The gray shaded area, that's your demand on H4. I'm gonna go to the 30-minute time frame. The gray shaded area, that's your demand on H4 time frame. But now we are already on a 30-minute time frame, and you can see this bearish candle here, this one. See, that's the one that traded back into the demand before price pushed to the upside. This is where I was saying in our last class, when everyone is looking to be a seller, you should be looking for reasons to be a what? A buyer. See, and then price pushed to the upside. See, that's how you have to look at the zones. So a demand zone provides support. A supply zone provides resistance to price. Let me see if I can get you another illustration. I think it was on CAD Daily, if I'm not mistaken. No, it wasn't CAD. There was another pair that we were looking at, which I was like, can you see how price has been finding support? Right. So this is UJ. You can see UJ there on the daily time frame. We've got this bullish engulfing here. That is a demand zone. You anticipate or you expect price to find support. Now remember, when you're trading, right, you're going to have the market high and then you're going to have the market low. Right. Once price reaches a higher level, that's resistance. You see, this is what we refer to as resistance. But remember, resistance applies to a supply zone. You expect resistance at a supply zone, not just anywhere on the chart. And then this becomes support, right? See, this becomes support. So you probably have say a demand zone here, and you're probably going to have a supply zone there. Once price reaches that supply zone, you expect resistance for a push to the downside. Once price reaches the demand zone, you expect it to find support for a push to the upside. You see? Let me see if I can get you another illustration. So this is dollar index. We are on a monthly chart, right? On the monthly chart, we've got this supply zone right there, and then we also have this recent demand zone, right? So we've got those two levels. So you'll be expecting price to reach out at this level here before price start finding what? Resistance to push lower, right? If it pushes lower, you expect it to reach out for this demand zone here before price finds support for it to push to the upside. I hope that makes a bit of sense, and I hope you understand a little bit better. Now let's look at NZD-USD. This is NZD-USD monthly chart. You see, we've got our supply zone here, bearish engulfing. We've got our demand zone here, bullish engulfing. We also have further demands right there. See, that's another demand. We also have this demand zone right here. I think this is the one I was talking about. Can you notice, can you see how price is finding support inside a higher time frame demand? So this is a monthly chart. If you look at this demand zone right there, right, you can see how price has been finding support here That's 1 here, that's 2, and currently we are trading inside that level. So on each and every occasion, price has been finding support inside the supply zone. This is not demand, you see, because we don't have a bullish engulfing right there. We don't have a bullish engulfing. We've got this supply zone right there, right? That's a supply zone, right? And you can see how price has been finding resistance inside the supply zone, meaning it wasn't pushing any further going to the upside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see, on all those occasions, price has not been pushing further upside from the supply zone. It was trading into the supply zone and then it drops to the downside. That's what we mean when we say price has been finding resistance in the case of a supply zone. In the case of a demand zone, down here we say price has been finding support inside the demand zone. So when you go to the next lower time frame, this is a monthly, right? When you go to the next lower time frame, just gonna zoom out, you can see the gray shaded area, that's our supply zone. The lower gray shaded area, that's our demand zone. And you can see, let me just maximize there, you can see how price has been finding resistance. It was coming to that level and then pushes up, coming to this level and then pushes higher. You see, it comes to the supply zone, drops, supply zone, drops, supply zone, drops. So even if you go to the next lower time frame, which is daily, you can see there. Now these are the trades. You see, that's a trade, big time. See, this is more of a swing position because that's like what, 24 days. This is a daily chart, and there's like 24 bars, meaning 24 days. From supply zone, price dropped. From a demand zone, price pushed to the upside. So yeah, I hope that makes a bit of sense, but you are going to understand as we go further and further with our institutional supply and demand course. So yeah, that's pretty much. I'm sure I didn't take much of your time, something like 12 minutes, which is something that you can watch. I'm also going to send you some links where I explain further regarding support and resistance. Alright, keep going, my brother. Sharp.